And 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. It's just gonna be me today talking. Just because unfortunately everybody else is busy. So it'll just be me. I'm just gonna go over some news and just talk with everybody. But first off, I'm gonna start off with the normal me and John have been doing is a funny article, or interesting, I guess, in this case, that I find. So, if anybody didn't know, if you don't know what DARPA is, it is a organization in the Pentagon that they push research into new tech, body armor, guns, new ammunition, anything essentially you can think of. One of the cool things that they have been working on is an exosuit, where it's pretty cool. It just straps to your legs and you can run around like you don't feel anything. You can lift stuff that's like super heavy and it's like effortless. But they recently got to do they were testing out an AI. This is very cool. I watched most of the Zoom meeting that they had, and rewatched some of it on YouTube. You can find it. You can just look up. It's just AI versus F-16 pilot. You can look it up. They have it out. Anyway, so they had this dogfight where it was like the actual pilot was like this VR headset, and on another screen you could watch the AI doing its thing. But interestingly, and I was kind of semi-surprised. So this is like a veteran pilot. Of course, I don't think they've actually been in a shooting war recently, so who knows if he's actually fought against other pilots. Excuse me. I don't know how that works. I don't know how they test that, because I'm not a pilot. But the AI won 5 out of 5. The pilot, I don't know if he got any. I don't think he got too many hits on the AI. The AI dominated him. But it wasn't like an actual it wasn't like you see nowadays where it's like you shoot a missile from hundreds of miles away and you land a hit. This is an actual dogfight, like World War II style, where the pilots are really the planes are really close together and they're doing all these sick maneuvers, trying to get to land hits. But the AI won in a landslide pretty easily too, it looked like. So it's very interesting. So this is probably the next phase where we're just going to start seeing more aerial drone fighters and stuff with nobody in them. I know I've heard people, pilots especially, talk that they'll never have it'll always be somebody in the air man-wise, but I think unfortunately with this showing this, who knows. So yeah, if you want to look it up, you just type it in. I have a whole bunch of people writing articles about this thing. And like I said, there is a video or two out with on YouTube. Just watching it. Half the thing was just them talking about the technology and stuff. But I think it was like towards the middle end where you actually can watch them dogfight. Very interesting. All right, so I was hoping to have a conversation with John, so we weren't going to actually do articles as much. We were going to do more. We were just going to do an open discussion about something, because most of last week was just dominated by the DNC. It was the DNC week with them, officially picking Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. It was pretty boring, to be honest. I watched some of it. uh, just through other people, but it was pretty slow, boring, monotonous. They were all over the place. One of the things, unfortunately, that they didn't do, excuse me, they didn't condemn any of the violence. They kept calling them peaceful protesters, which is unfortunate. And I, but that just shows you again how the DNC is focusing right now. But they were trying to. You could tell that they were trying to go slightly more moderate during the prime time when people would actually be watching, and all the people who, like when off of prime time, excuse me, they had all their socialists and people that they didn't want you to actually, the common person, to see what was on, which is kind of scary. Because again, that's what their DNC is no longer the DNC. The DNC has been 100% hijacked by these extreme left-wing people, and you're gonna start seeing them creep in more and more. I think the liberals, as you would call them, have lost control of the left, the far left. They're no longer can control them anymore. Which I think people saw that was going to happen. I saw it going to happen. They were trying to let these rioters and stuff back in 2016, 2015 happen. They thought they could control them, use them to their advantage to press us normal Americans into, hey, if you vote for us, the riots will stop. I think what's going to happen is even if Biden would win, I don't think they're going to stop anymore because they don't have control of the party anymore. And the left's roots are in the DNC, and I don't know how they're going to be able to purge that. My camera just looked really yellow for a second. It's probably my face. Anyway, so the first article I'm going to go over, and I'm going to go into a little. I'm going to talk a little bit more today. I don't have too many articles. Like I said, it was a very boring week last week. Nothing really happened. So, but this stuff is just actually happening right now. So, this is extremely scary. And again, this goes back to what I just said. That the title of the article, and this is from Fox. Pelosi calls Trump GOP lawmakers domestic enemies of the state over mail-in voting opposition. Okay, you cannot be calling the other party, like, this is 100% just uncalled for. What I don't think these people realize is when they label the right domestic enemies, people that actually pay attention and listen on their side, they think now when they say that, and they believe these people, when they do believe these people, they're going to take this to heart. So you're going to see, as we've been seeing, as this rhetoric keeps getting pushed more and more and more, that you are going to start seeing people call Republicans, right-wing people, moderates, centrists. They're gonna start calling people the domestic enemies, and they're gonna, as we've started to see a little bit, people are taking this to heart, and they're gonna start calling Republicans domestic enemies, and they're gonna be looking at you like, as somebody calls them that, they're gonna be like, what are you talking about? Like, you've been labeled a domestic enemy by the Democrat, excuse me, the Democrat Party. That's not good. It really isn't. And this is Nancy Pelosi. Unfortunately, I think they're pushing this divide that Americans have right now. And this was on a live interview with, of course, MSNBC. So no duh, she's peddling to her people. But people do watch MSNBC. And people are gonna be like, you know what? She's right. They are domestic terrorists. They are our domestic enemies. We should do something about it. And somebody might take that to heart and actually follow through with that. Through harm, death, who knows? So as it goes, it says House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, D. California, escalated her attacks towards President Trump and GOP lawmakers, describing them as domestic enemies over their opposition of universal mail-in voting. Unfortunately, a lot of this goes back to our last episode, which we didn't get to air because technical difficulties. John's voice didn't get picked up for some reason. But we were talking about mail-in voting and how there is a difference between mail-in voting and absentee ballot. Absentee ballots, you have to request it, so it is more controlled. I believe you have to have they match your signature somehow. I'm not 100% because I've never done an absentee ballot. But what the Democrats are pushing for is they want everybody to vote by mail. How we were talking is, there's too many variables in mail-in voting. I've had this happen multiple times where I get other people's mail. So there's one, right? I'm not saying, I'm not saying the post office is a bad thing. I think it's good. I have problems with it that they need to be fixed because they're supposed to be autonomous from the government, but they're with the government. So they're not supposed to be profitable, but they're not supposed to be taking money from the government unless in extreme circumstances. And they haven't been making money for years. They are so far in debt. Last figures I saw, it's like they're gonna be broke all to hell by 2021. So by next year. And the post office general, whoever the boss is, over the years they have made requests to make changes. So they wanted to get rid of Saturdays, which okay, that's fine. It'd be a 2-day weekend for them then. As it should be, probably. They wanted to raise the prices for postage a little bit. Again, okay. Not a lot of people go by mail anymore, this is why the post office doesn't make money anymore. But each time they make these proposals, Congress, specifically I believe the House, blocks it. So now that, oh my goodness, now it's like they want to do this mail-in voting and the post office is losing money and has all these issues. Now the Democrats want to get that involved and blow this place up. Not blow this place up figuratively, or really, but figuratively. They want to just start shoving money into this thing just to get it to work. So going back to that, though, so if any of you have ever gotten anybody's mail before, again, that's happened. I've heard of stories where people were getting other people's ballots, which again, it's like, okay, what do you do with that? Because if you get caught with that ballot, that's holding on to somebody else's ballot, for one. If you tamper with it, that's a felony. Yeah, there's a lot of things there. Another thing is you're gonna have a lot of hands touching those ballots. So I don't have much faith in humanity and people, unfortunately. So you don't know what everybody's mindset is. And we've gone over this before. There are stories like in New Jersey where there are ballots being changed. There's stories where, people doing fishy stuff. And there's been stories too where it's like, oh, the elections they're counting ballots, and oh look, we found bags of these absentee ballots in the back of this truck or behind this dumpster. There's too many variables. There's too many people in between. It's not like the polls where you go in and you hit the button, pull the crank, whatever, and that's it. You're done. Nobody else touches it except for the ballot people that are actually there, and that stuff doesn't leave that place. And I don't think Republicans are, from a common sense point of view, the Republicans are right. And as, unfortunately, I can remember and I've seen, Democrats, I think, are trying to use this so they can steal this election. They're either, actually, I take that back. There's a couple reasons. A, they're trying to steal the election this way. So, for instance, like we were talking about before, I don't think we're going to know who's president for a month, at minimum, just if this happens. If they do this mail-in voting, we probably won't know who's president for at least a month. Shoot, man, what was my rant going on there? Oh, man. I am shooting this a little bit later, so bear with me. I can't remember. That's what I was going with. Okay, so they're either A, going to try to steal election this way, so they're just going to cause confusion where they'll be like, oh, we just found Trump might win, but Trump might be showing, oh, he's winning all these states, right? And then as the night progresses, like, oh, wait, we just found bags. Oh, we found bags here. We found a couple bags over here. We found some bags over here. And they're all full of ballots. And look. They're all Biden. So you'll see Trump, he's up here. He's got the numbers and everything. And then you'll see Biden's numbers start creeping up. And then until one day, they'll be like, oh, Biden's winning now. And then that'll be enough. And then they'll be like, oh, got all the ballots. Hey. I think that. So the other thing, though, that they could be trying to do is make it so that if Trump does win, right, it'll be like another Russiagate. It'll clog up his second term so he can't do as much. And by that, I mean, as you've seen with Russiagate, this entire time, these past 4 years, it's been Russia this, Russia that, Russia this, Russia that. They want to make him an illegitimate president again for another term. So they can be like, oh, but technically, see all these ballots that came in that were denied because they weren't posted right, seals were broken, that kind of thing. They won't count those, but they'll be like, why didn't you count those? Because then Biden would have won, kind of thing. And again, that'll just delegitimize him again. Then they'll save that tactic for the next one. So those are the two things I think that they could be trying to do, unfortunately. Another thing that makes me worry is the post office general. I'm not sure what this is. The APWU, which is like the Post Office Workers Union. Yeah, it's the American Postal Workers Union. They endorsed Joe Biden. So, okay, so how does that makes me, again, suspicious of what they're trying to do. Like, these guys are in charge of the post office. Why should I trust them who just endorsed Joe Biden? Even if it was for, Joe Biden, I'd be like, okay, that should not be a thing. You guys should not be able to endorse for a presidential candidate. Because that makes me think personally that you guys, you're already in favor of somebody. So what if you see, I guess supposedly if you get ballots, somewhere on the back of the ballot it says like there's like a D and like a number and an R in the number. So if you're a Democrat, there's like there's something even outside the ballot. It already says you're a Democrat or a Republican. So who's to say, they're going through this and like, hey, we just got orders from up on high that we need to get rid of a bunch of, Republican ballots. It's like, all right, flip them over. There's an R. They say how many? Yeah, they want like 5,000 gone. Okay, R. And then they just burn them out back or something. Shred them, and they could be like, oh, they weren't postage. They could just say they're not postage correctly or whatever if they get caught maybe. So I don't think that's good. And that again goes into there's too many hands in this pot. Yeah, I don't have much else to say about it. If this happens, and I hope not, again, if you can go out to Walmart or the grocery store to pick up your groceries, get something. If you can go inside and get something, you can go and vote. Wear a mask. Obviously, the poll stations are going to be like 6 feet apart. Hand sanitizer everywhere. Masks are going to be a have or whatever. You can go in person to vote. It's not hard. I'm going to. Everybody else should too. And again, if you don't want to go out, you can get an absentee ballot, which is a very different thing. So yeah. So a couple other things that did happen this week, or actually this weekend, or now. This happened a couple hours ago. And I think this is what Nancy Pelosi was actually going off of. So this is from The Hill. I've seen this in a couple other places, but it's CNN cuts away from Trump address to GOP delegates, compares him to Pontius Pilate. So this is from the Republican National Convention, which is this week, I believe. And Trump accepted. He's going to be, him and Pence are running again, obviously. Not a big surprise. So this is something that's been happening, though. So CNN apparently cut away from this. And apparently, like, CNN and MSN are talking about not covering the RNC. Everybody else did. I'm sure they'll have people there, but they're not going to televise it like everybody else did. Or this is what they're trying to do. So, guess what? Trump is your president. Should they cover the RNC? Yes, I think they should. If they covered the DNC, they should cover the RNC. When they cut off the president, though, because they say he's making false statements and being too negative, no, I don't think they should do that. And this has been a repeat offense from the left. So Twitter has been going after Trump. So has Facebook, I believe. And they've been, fact-checking him and saying, oh, hate speech, all this stuff. And it never is. You should not be censoring the President of the United States. That in itself, to me, is just awful. If he has a message that he wants to get out, he has every right to. He's the president. He has First Amendment rights as well, just like everybody else. It's a scary thing when you are trying to censor somebody like that. excuse me, it's not a good look. So me as an outsider, it looks like they're 100% trying to stop. They're trying to shut down. To me, it looks like they're trying to shut down the president of the United States. That is a no-go from me. That's like, okay, so do this the other way around. For instance, if Fox tried to shut down Fox, or even if it was Twitter, say Twitter was was right leaning, and they tried to stop President Obama from talking, I'd say the same thing. It is, I mean, I'd agree with his policies and stuff, but you can't stop the president from talking and trying to reach out to people. No, that's no way. And it's feeding into that narrative that, and when they lie and they're saying Trump's lying about this stuff, or he's being too negative or hurtful, like, come on. I know President Trump has a mouth. I think everybody knows that at this point. When you try to protect people from what he's saying, right or wrong, yeah, it's the president. Like, I wouldn't do that to President Obama. If that did happen, if they did try to stop President Obama from talking, the left would be nuts. They'd be screaming. The Democrat Party would be screaming. And this is what and don't get me wrong, I hate Republicans too. I don't think they have a spine at all. Right now, they should be using this as an example. They should be like, all right, hey, like, we gotta come up with something that says you can't censor the president. It's just wrong. It is. It boggles my mind that this is okay, that people find this okay. And apparently they've been doing this to Congress. There's people running for Congress. They've done this mostly on the right. Yeah, see, so there's a couple Twitters. So it says, this is Boris, I don't know who that is. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. This is Brian. This is Democrat surrogate Brian Seltzer advocating for fact checks during RNC. Did at CNN cut away from DNC with objective fact checks, disgusting bias. And this is the same guy who's like, hey. He's from CNN. He's like short, bald guy. He's like, I think I remember who he's talking to, but he's like, it's so funny that Fox News is going after Biden like this. I don't think Trump has anybody going after him on the news networks. I'm like, please. Oh, please, man. Shut the hell up. CNN and MSNBC are so biased against Trump. That's all it is. Yeah, so let me read some of this. So I'll read start of this. So CNN cuts away from President Trump's address to delegates at the Republican National Convention in Charlotte, North Carolina on Monday, with anchor Anderson Cooper arguing that the president's speech was composed of the most recent greatest hits of false statements regarding mail-in voting. But the problem is, see right there, the problem is with that is Trump's right about mail-in voting. He is. I don't agree with Trump on everything, but he is 100% with the mail-in voting. And it continues. It's sort of this is, I think, from Anderson Cooper. It is sort of all the most recent greatest hits and false statements by the president, and I imagine what we're going to hear a lot this week from the president, who clearly wants to be out front every single day, Cooper said. Underscores the challenge, Anderson, for us in the news business, and really for people watching at home. If you are a voter who is not decided, if you're a voter who is not firm on your decision, to watch the next 4 days, because this is a sad thing to say, but a lot of what you just heard from the president of the United States is wrong, misleading, outright lies. Anchor Joe King added. Yeah, they compare him to Pontius Pilate. And it continues, what they're doing is using COVID to steal an election, Trump said. Correct. They're using COVID to defraud the American people, all of our people, of a free and fair fair and free election. We can't do that. Again, I agree with that. Especially if you can see, if you look at the northern Democrat states and stuff, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and California, just to name a few. When I think their death rates are all like super low per million. Like, okay, it's time to open up your states, get your economy going. I think it is. I honestly think that's what they're doing, is they're trying to, they're shooting themselves in the foot to make Trump look bad. Problem is, I don't think they can't control the left anymore. I think they're going to overshoot and destroy their states, as we've already kind of been seeing. These businesses are gone, economy-wise. I think they're going to destroy their economies just so Trump doesn't win. That's sad. That really is. And I feel and I don't feel for those people at the same time. That's for another day. But, okay, so continuing on. So I think we're nearing day 100 of these riots. So, out in Wisconsin, apparently over the weekend, somebody else was shot. I'm not going to play the video or anything. As I'm talking, I'm hopefully going to have pictures coming across the screen on YouTube at least. But the pictures that I've been seeing that are coming out of this has been... It looks like a war zone. Like, there's this picture that they have of, I guess they destroyed a car dealership, and the place is just, everything's on fire, which is awful. If you do see the video, though, and I'll describe it in slight detail, because, again, I'm going to wait for the investigation, more stuff to come out, because I am going to be posting up another video from the last video we did shoot that had bugs. It's just me ranting. But with the new video that came out from the George Floyd case, it shows a completely different story. If you haven't seen it, go look it up. It's you can tell somebody had a camera, was from their phone, and they were videotaping like a computer screen, and it shows a completely different story about George Floyd. It shows a whole different narrative that the media essentially did lie to us. So, again, I'm going to wait, but the very short clip that somebody did put out, it shows the cops were trying to get this guy, and he wasn't listening to him, he wasn't paying attention, and they were telling him to freeze, stop, they had their guns drawn, and he's just walking past them, and then he decides to open his car door, and he reaches in to grab something, and they shoot him. Because again, and honestly, from me, that would be maybe, again, it's so difficult to know right now because of the climate we're in. Maybe they should have tried using a taser or something. Maybe they already did. We don't know. Maybe he was high off something and shrugged it off. Because I've seen that happen before too. So anyway, so riots have happened in Wisconsin and Kenosha. And anyway, and then so the governor Tony Evers, he already condemned the police for doing that, but then also contradicted himself and said we should wait till we have evidence. You can only have one. Again, I'm all for, I think people need to stop and actually take a breath, wait for the police to conduct their investigation, wait for the FBI to conduct an investigation. If if they have to do a third party. Wait for everything to come out. Because I think people keep jumping to conclusions that the police are bad, and then all this information comes back spilling out that says, oh, never mind, they were actually in the right. So I'm going to wait until I say anything. But there is rioting again coming out of Wisconsin. And so far it looks pretty bad. But unlike everybody else, the Wisconsin governor is smart. Even though he's a Democrat, I will say he's smart. And he is bringing out the National Guard to support local law enforcement. Good. And this is good because, you know what? These businesses that, again, why are these people who are rioting and stuff, why would you target your own city? Why would you burn this place to the ground? It's your city. Like, it's your economy. You're destroying your community. Because guess what? I swear these people, and you've seen them. They're when they loot and they're like, oh, these places got insurance. Well, yeah, okay, they're gonna take the insurance and they're not coming back. They're gonna be like, hey, I just want the insurance. They'll probably be, I don't know how it works. Again, I've never had my place burned to the ground. But for me, if it was me, I'd be like, hey, I just want the insurance for my lost inventory because I'm gonna move elsewhere. You know, I don't want to stay in a city that is not going to protect me or my property. Why would you? Why would you want to come back to that place? Tell me. In the comments, whatever. Mail me. I don't care. Why would you want to come back? Why would you want to waste the time, the blood, sweat, and tears to rebuild your place only to have it vandalized again next round of riots or whatever? And it's not, and these people are setting these governors, mayors, again, mostly on the Democratic side. Why would you? Why waste the money? Why? When these people are setting when these Democrat governors and everything are setting the precedent that these can continue. This can happen. Eventually the rioting hopefully will stop in Portland. But now your citizens and these Black Lives Matters and anarchists and Antifa now know we can get away with it. So next time this does happen, we'll do it all over again. And nobody's going to stop us. So why would you as a business come back? No, it's like New York. Governor Cuomo was begging people to come back, especially the rich. He's offering to give people drinks if they come back. Hey, it's like, we'll have a barbecue. Come on, I'll get you a drink. Yes, no, you got to do way more than that for me to come back. You really do. You got to be like, hey, like, your business, your property, it's going to be fine. Like, we're going to protect it. Nope. Every time this happens, especially New York and Seattle, like, when you see these riots, you don't see any police whatsoever. None. You don't see any National Guard. It is an option for, these governors to call on. None. You don't see them. Because they don't want it, because they're trying to set the narrative. They're using this to go after Trump. When this originally did happen, I could see it too. They're goading Trump to send in federal forces. And you saw when Trump said, hey, we're going to be sending federal police to protect the courthouse, and the courthouse only. They skewed it. They didn't say it was the courthouse only. I don't believe, anyway. Some of these people weren't. And they were like, hey, they're sending federal police. And you saw the governors, these mayors, like, we don't want the federal police to be here. But we don't want these brown shirts. Get out. Tell them to go. And we're trying to sue to get them to leave. No. And, and me, as a military, as a Marine guy, Excuse me, it's been pretty hot today. um, they're protecting federal property. They're not protecting the city, which Trump could do, but he wasn't going to fall into that trap. You saw that they wanted Trump to utilize the National Guard, the Army, 101st, to go into these cities to pacify the place. Which, to me, I think he should have. But I see what he was doing. He saw the trap that they were laying, and he wasn't going to walk into it. Mayor Lightfoot of Chicago, forever, she was like, no, we don't need your help. I know Trump had said, hey, if you need the assistance, let us know. And she kept saying, no, we don't need it. No, we don't. No, we don't. She's awful mayor. And then it turns out secretly she called and she's like, yeah, we could use some help. And he sent it. But again, he did it smart. I don't know how the negotiations went or whatever, but it was these FBI guys, but instead of actually going out in the field, all they did was they sat back, they took over desk duty, and they let the cops go out. Again, very smart. He's like, he's helping in whatever capacity that she wanted, and she's getting more cops out on the streets. Did it help? No, because there's still protests going on, and now she doesn't want people. Nobody's allowed to protest on her street. So I'll get into that in a second. But let me finish up with Wisconsin here. So the National Guard is out there. Hopefully tonight that does help. And again, I urge people to just wait. Let the investigation happen. Let all the evidence come out. Maybe that's something we should do. Maybe nationally, or I don't think you do it nationally, but by city-wise, have hey, if something like this were to happen, we'll send out a pamphlet or something. We'll send out a PDF. Again, who knows if this would even work, but I think maybe a PDF, something with we'll have a press conference and be you can sign up, or you can go to our website and you can download the PDF of what what was detailed in the investigation, what videos, what body cam, all that stuff is in there. Just so maybe people can be, okay, so we should wait for this. But I don't think these people care. That's also the other side of me that I think these people who are rioting are just rioting because they want to. I don't think they care that this guy got shot. I really don't. I think they're using this as an excuse. Maybe this is part of because of the pandemic where people are still cooped up inside, people don't have jobs, and this is how people are venting their rage. But again, destroying your own community is not good. You're shooting yourself in the foot. You're hurting yourself in the long run. It's millions of dollars, and you're destroying people's lives by doing this. You might think everything's insured. It's not. Unfortunately, you're going to lose money because you have to rebuild. Every day that you're not open, you're losing money. And unfortunately, having a place in the city isn't cheap. Property tax, all that kind of stuff, I know. But going back real quick to Lori Lightfoot. So she said, and I don't have the exact quote, but she said, I saw this rioting and stuff going on, and a couple weeks ago, I think it was a week ago, she raised the drawbridge into I guess it was a shopping district to try to quell the protesting. Awful. Yeah, it was a bad decision. Apparently, I don't know, the community leaders, I think it was community leaders in the area were yelling at her because it's what are you doing? awful decisions. But now because these protests are going into the suburbs and they're actually going down, like, they're getting out of the shopping districts, probably because they're all destroyed, and they're now going down streets with people's houses, where people sleep, have kids, families are, and now they're going down in the middle of the night. Thankfully, they haven't been starting fires and peaceful, but they're like, they're no sleep, they're like going with bull horns and yelling and making noise, waking people up, which I'm sure people are just like, I gotta be up at 5 in the morning to go to work, and you assholes are running around keeping me up. But you're not allowed to protest on Lori Lightfoot's street. She said she has a right to secure her home. So everybody else that's out there, how does that make you feel? That a mayor says, I have the right to secure my home, but everybody else, you're on your own. Like, how elitist is that? No, seriously, think about that. This lady has the gall to say, hey, I can secure my home, but you can't. And remember, Chicago is like one of the strictest gun laws in the United States. If, and I think it's a matter of when these protests do get violent in these suburbs and neighborhoods, what's going to happen? Think about it. In Chicago, it's almost possible to get a gun legally, but there's so many guns, on the streets because they don't know how to. Again, why would? That's a whole other. I'm not going to go into that. That's a whole other thing. But if you can't protect yourself, and these people, who knows if they do have guns? I don't know. I'm not there. But I'm sure they are. I'm sure they're armed. What happens if that gets violent and they start setting fire to homes with people inside? How are you going to defend yourself? Seriously, how? Like, if you have a knife, that's great, but you have like 200 people there who are probably going to like pummel you to death either way. That's a scary thought. It is. And if this continues, like I said, you're starting to see people in the suburbs. There was Black Lives Matters in the neighborhood. Like a rural neighborhood. Again, they got kicked out real fast. Just think about that. What are you gonna do if you and your family, are in a house? These guys come through in the middle of the night, wake you up. You wake up and you look out the window, and the thing you see is like they're getting ready to Molotov cocktail your house. What are you gonna do then? The knife's not gonna help you. You try throwing it. Good luck with that. Probably just gonna piss them off. A gun would protect you. So you could just shoot in the air one round as a warning, and they'd probably cut and run. But it's a scary thought. This is something that's been going through my head. Because again, I am in a blue state, unfortunately. We're planning on leaving as soon as we can. Who knows when that will be, though, because we're not ready. But it wasn't like this a couple years ago. Yeah. So just dwell on that. Yeah, that these elites, they don't care. Oh, and the last thing, though, too, I want to talk about, again, about these elites not caring. So the Music Video Awards are happening in New York. And if you didn't know, but I believe 2 weeks ago, Mayor de Blasio set up checkpoints going in and out of the city. That if you were coming in, you had to wait 14 days in your hotel, wherever, before you could actually go out into the city. And if you didn't, you were going to get fined like $10,000 a day, something crazy like that. Well, all these celebrities and stuff coming into the city, guess what? They don't have to do that. There's going to be probably hundreds. hundreds of these celebrities coming in. Your Miley Cyrus, your I don't know anybody else pop wise because I don't listen to it. Yeah, these people they don't have to quarantine for 14 days. They get a go get out of jail free card. They get to go to their parties and drink and have fun. While everybody else, every other normal people in New York is still stuck at home, stuck in their apartments, no work, But hey, these celebrities, it's all right. They get to live it up. So just remember this. Come, November, when you have to I don't know when Mayor de Blasio was up. I don't know. But, you can start making the change now. Look for somebody who's not a Democrat. Again, I'm not saying every Republican is good. But, hey, all these cities where all these riots are happening, they've all been run by Democrats for years. New York has always been blue. California, always been blue. Again, like I always say, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. You guys have been voting blue. You've been voting Democrat all this time. Where has it gotten? Seriously. Red states are mostly opened up with some restrictions, but their economies are coming back. Us in blue states, we're still, 15 days to flatten the curve. We're on like day 100 something. It's time for change. It is. Hopefully people will get their head out of their asses and instead of just checking off that D, maybe think about just putting an R. Or actually looking for somebody who's not going to put you, essentially, make you a prisoner in your own home. Like all these cities are. Then maybe they'll actually stop, they'll actually back the police who are just trying to do their job and actually put them out in force to stop these riots. Maybe you'll can vote somebody who's not going to make your city street just blatantly a political message now by just painting Black Lives Matters. Something to think about. Again, every normal person right now, we're not like these people who are just going out and rioting. If you're actually listening to me, you're not one of those people. Again, we have to, like I've been saying to people, I don't think I've said it on the show, but vote November. That's where we can start making changes. Actually go to city, your town meetings, stuff like that. Or at least if you can't go, because again, and I get it, I work almost 24/7. I work. I don't have a lot of time. This is my event time. Excuse me again. I'm so sorry. This is when I get to vent with people, usually with John and Xander. Yeah, if you can't go to your city, your council meetings, stuff like that, your town hall meetings, I'm sure they put this. Most of the time they do put stuff on the website, so you can actually see stuff that's coming up, stuff that's going to be talked about. Unfortunately, like I said, I get it. You can't be there all the time, but you can mail in your complaints. That's how you can, push. Talk to your congressman, mail them, email them. Voice your concerns. I know, unfortunately, a lot of Democrats, some Republicans again too, they don't care and they'll just do it their way. That's why it's time, you got these people who have been in for years and years now. You've got, Nancy Pelosi's been in for like 30 plus. Chuck Schumer has been in for like 40 plus. Get them out. Vote for somebody else. Because when they keep complaining that they keep saying, oh, well, we'll fix it if you let us. They've had all this time to fix the government, and they haven't taken it. And this goes for Republicans too. When Trump first won, he had the House, the presidency, the House, and the Senate. And guess what? Republicans did nothing. They just dragged their feet. That's probably why they lost the House, to be honest. So again, start there. Maybe become a local leader if you have the time, the energy. We cannot give up on this country. But yeah, so I'm gonna sign off. This is gonna be a slightly shorter episode. It's only gonna be about 15 minutes or almost an hour, just shy. But hey guys, yeah, keep your heads up. I know unfortunately a lot of the stuff that comes out is bleak, but hey, you know what? That's just an election year. So hey, have a good week, and we'll see you back. And I'll have my next video up next Wednesday. All right, bye guys.